Back with you with another Lion Legend feature. This time we're catching up with Tyrone Dennis. He played basketball at North Alabama for 2 seasons from 1999 to 2001. He led the team in field goal percentage both seasons and is a senior tied for the team lead in rebounds. He also played another sport at North Alabama. We'll jump into that in just a moment. Graduated from North Alabama in 2002 with a degree in criminal justice and sociology. He's gone on to an outstanding career in law enforcement in Atlanta. He was recently named the 2020 University of North Alabama Alumni of the Year. He's made national news with the creation of Clippers and Cops. We'll jump into the community outreach programs as well. Tyrone Dennis, thanks for being our next Lion Legend.
Thanks for having me.
Let's just start off North Alabama, this university, your time here, what's it mean to you?
North Alabama was huge in the creation of who I am today. I literally went from a boy to a man during my time there. I had went to a community college before I got there and got my associates, and I transferred in '99. And once I got there, me and my teammates created bonds and relationships. I had never stayed in a dorm. We stayed on the 7th floor of Flowers Hall, or where we was in Rivers. And, it was like our floor. It was like the basketball floor. So we created bonds that we're still friends today because we lived amongst each other. We pretty much did everything together. Like I said, I went from a 19-year-old boy to a 22-year-old man. And by the time I graduated out of North Alabama, I was ready for the world.
Take us back. Let's start before North Alabama, growing up in the St. Louis area. What was your athletic career like before you came to UNA?
I'm from the west side of St. Louis. I grew up in the Fountain Park neighborhood, Page and Taylor, North Kings Highway. And I pretty much was what's called a DSEG student. Voluntary. In St. Louis, we got something called voluntary desegregation, where I was bused from the inner city to the suburbs. So I got bused to West County, to the Rockwood School District from the 6th grade to graduation. And once I got bused, immediately, I had already had a love for basketball, but basketball was the love of my life. Like, I used to sign my paper, Shaquille Tyrone Dennis. Like, I love basketball. I collected basketball cards. And once I started coming to Rockwood, I met people that didn't look like me that loved basketball too. So we had a common bond. And as I grew older, that became my focus. And once I got to high school at Marquette, I went to Marquette High School. Basketball was my main thing. You know, I had a good high school career. I didn't necessarily live up to now. I wish I could go back, but you know, you live and you learn. But I look at my time to say that I learned a lot. I played AAU. Once I started playing AAU, I started going up against some of the best players in the country, guys that made it to the NBA, Tracy McGrady, Shane Battier, stuff like that, where once I started seeing different, I started looking at my game differently. Like, oh, I still got a ways to go. You know, you're in high school, you think you're the man. And then once you see other people, you're like, oh, I got to get myself together. So, which led to my focus of playing basketball. But my senior year, I got expelled from high school. In March of my senior year, I jumped into a fight with a buddy and ended up getting a 43-day suspension, which killed my Division I scholarship hope that I was getting recruited by Marquette and several other schools. And it killed that. And my junior college coach, Jim Dudley, rest in peace, he signed me to Lakeland College while I was in long-term suspension. What's crazy is my current position, the office that I'm sitting in, is in the same office that I was expelled from. So 23 years later, I was asked to come back to basically be the director of school safety. So it was a long journey. Like I tell a lot of people, this didn't happen overnight. I had a lot of growing up to do and learning to take accountability for my actions. But before I left, once I was expelled, I couldn't go to prom, and I had to drop an appeal to go to graduation. And at graduation, I got escorted to my seat, stuff like that. So that humbled me. I thought I was the band, you know, basketball, me, this, that, and the other. And then once that happened, that made me sit back and reevaluate my life and where I was going on the path that I was on. And a lady at our church sat me down and was like, "What are you going to major in when you get to college?" And I was like, "I don't know, business." Mine, I'm thinking I'm just going to play basketball. But once she sat me down and I said that, she was like, "Well, you need to find something that you want to do for the next 30 or 40 years because that's about how long you're going to work." And so I went on in my course catalog at Lakeland, and I saw criminal justice, and I was like, "I'll do that." Once I got to Lakeland, I was the only minority in my major, and so my professor was a former FBI agent. He called on me a lot to get my insight, and what he didn't know is, and what I didn't know until I got to college, was I got a great education in the school district, which allowed me to be able to interact. And my teammates are looking at me like I was a nerd. I'm like, I wasn't like a 2 some GPA. So after being able to participate in class, he started bringing me different literature about the FBI. And once he did that, I started looking towards being in the FBI once I graduated from college. So once I got my associates transferred to UNA, I picked up criminal justice. Once I got there, everybody double majored. So they were like, "You might as well major in sociology and double major." So I picked up the second major, not even knowing that 20 years later, my sociology degree will help me with my community service. So, I double majored at UNA and graduated in '02.
So take us back to JUCO to North Alabama. Gary Elliott was your head basketball coach. What was the recruitment like?
So what I didn't know is Coach Billy Gamble actually saw me in my first game as a freshman in a jamboree in Indiana. We played against Sean Marion and Vincennes University, and Coach Gamble was there, and he showed me the program when I came on my visit, where he was with some question marks like might become a player. So he's the GOAT. He saw something in me from day one, but I was way skinny and I could jump real well. So he kind of noticed that. And what happened is in junior college, I was getting recruited by Butler and some other mid-majors. And I waited. I was trying to hold out as long as I can to find a school that, I wanted to go D1 and stuff like that. And I felt like I had did enough at Lakeland where that would go that route, but it didn't. So I didn't. Coach Schubert at University of Southeast Missouri State actually put Coach Elliott in touch with me. And when he and I started corresponding, I hit it off with Coach Elliott. I liked Coach Elliott a lot, and he was real down to earth and laid back. He brought me on my visit, and when I got off the plane in Huntsville, I was blown away when we were driving up 72 to Florence. I had never seen cotton fields, so I was like, "What is this?" I was blown away. And so Harris Linder, a UNA legend, was my tour guide, rest his soul. And he showed me around, and we went to a rec center where I played with Rudy Williams, who was a Florence local legend. And he and I hit it off. And Paul Bradley was my person on the team that kind of showed me around, and he and I hit it off. So everybody I was meeting later on would be teammates or I would have some type of relationship with them. So it was awesome, and I liked the vibe of Alabama and stuff like that. So I decided to sign with North Alabama. And at the time, I didn't know what I was getting myself into. But after it was all said and done, North Alabama was the right place for me.
Gary Elliott, one of the ultimate Lion legends at UNA. As the head coach, what was his impact on you?
His impact was he was down to earth, and he often talked to me, and he and I got along very well. At first, we kind of butted heads one time because when he was recruiting me, I played the 3 small forward. And when we got to practice, he was moving me to the 4, and I'm like, "I'm not playing the 4, I play the 3. And he was like, "Well, we got a guy coming in at Christmas, and I'm gonna put him at the 3, and you're gonna be the 4. So at the time, I'm like, "Yeah, right. I don't care about that guy. I care about me." And what's crazy is the guy that he brought in was Duke Laguerre, and me and Duke Laguerre became best friends. By me being able to make way for Duke. Me and Duke became friends because I played Dreamcast and Duke played Dreamcast, and we were the only two that played Dreamcast. And when he came, that's how we bonded. And he and I became roommates when I moved to Atlanta. And we still friends to this day. So, and then by me playing the four, it helped me be able to go inside and out in my pro career. So it was sometimes a coach sees things better than you and see a broader scope than you do. You only look for right there. Coach Elliott actually saw long term, and I thank him for it now. Later on, but at the time I was like, man, get me out of here. I'm ready to go.
So let's talk about that first season. You guys go 17-12, but you were the surprise team at the Gulf South Conference tournament, upsetting the 1 seed, the host Delta State. You made it to the championship game against Henderson State, where you ultimately lost. But year one, that run, what do you remember?
Man, it was an ultimate. I remember fighting to get into the Gulf South Conference to get in the playoffs, and once we got in, we got Delta State on their home floor, and they had a nice team. And I just remember us bonding. At that point, we were gelling as a team, and I remember us beating, and we ruined their tournament. I remember Casey Willis stealing. I got the tape at home, and he's stealing it, and he was dunking all on them. And their gym, we cleared the gym out basically because the rest of the tournament was empty because of us. And then we had a battle, I believe it was West Florida, and it was at the double overtime game I think we had with them in the second round. And then when we played Henderson State for the championship, Nicky Arenzi, he went to Wake Forest, he was NBA ready. We had problems with him, but we fought as best we could, and it was a good run. And stuff like that brings you closer to your teammates. And for a lot of us, we came from junior college, so we figured we had another crack at it the next year and things like that. So we had a lot to build.
Your senior year saw you guys open up 8-1 on the season, finish 17-10 overall, 7.3 points for you, 5.8 rebounds per game. Your final run at North Alabama, what are the memories?
Well, that summer I actually stayed at school and shot every day and ran. I was going to have the ultimate senior year, and then over Labor Day I broke my wrist. We was playing at one of the local gyms, and we weren't supposed to, and somebody undercut me, and I went up for a dunk, and when they clipped me, I fell and broke my wrist in 3 places. So everybody was pissed. I was pissed, and it was shaky because then my doctor was telling me I probably may miss the season, stuff like that. So I was afraid, but I worked myself back. Terrell Suggs, our trainer, he got me together, and I was able to make it back for the first game. I actually lost my starting spot because they didn't think I was going to make it back, and so I had to play a different role coming off the bench. But I had to suck it up because for us, even though my points say 7 points a game, it wasn't. All of us had nobody really averaged big numbers because we had a well-rounded team, and I think that I wouldn't trade that for the world. I think everybody on our team contributed and everybody played a role, but I was one of those. I think everybody remembered me because of dunks and stuff like that. Me, Sacky, and the rest, Greg, maybe all of us, and Paul and Casey, we were all dunking and jumping all over the place. So our games were exciting. We enjoyed playing. I love playing at home. I love playing on the road just because at home it was almost like a party. Like when we got a steal, everybody was fighting to see who's going to do what. And once somebody did something, it was like, all right, I'm going to top that and stuff like that. So it was a great time, one of the greatest times of my life. And the bond that I made with my teammates, like I said, we're like family to this day. We still get together. I just at my retirement party, Duke and Sack were there, and several other people that went to North Alabama as well. The one common ground is UNA. A lot of people never heard of it, but for us, that's like that's our home. And like we come back for homecoming each year. And at first I didn't come for almost 10 years. And then once we start coming, it became one of those things where that's our time to get together and really reminisce and talk about the past. And, just you're happy to see where everybody is as successful adults.
So you finish up your basketball career at UNA, but you're not done with UNA athletics. One more year, you ran cross country. How do you go from JUCO basketball, college basketball, to running cross country at North Alabama?
I tell people I was on the I have no choice plan. And what that means is by us going to junior college, and it was so many of us, it was only a fifth-year scholarship offered. And so it only covered so much. And so when I went to tell my mom, like, hey, Mom, what we going to do about this last year? My mom was like, son, you got to figure it out. You grown. You know? So I'm like, dang, what am I going to do? So I go to Coach Elliott and I tell him, and he's like, well, I'll help you as best I can, but it's only so much in the budget for it. And so Coach Flory, she was the girls basketball coach. She pulled me to the side and she said, I got something for you, but I don't know if you're going to do it. And I was like, what is it? And she was like, if you run cross country, I'll give you a full ride to help pay for your last year. And never, you know, at the time at first, but then as I start scratching my head and thinking about it, I'm like, I got to do what I got to do. I'm 2 semesters away from graduating with 2 degrees. I got to do what I got to do. So I signed up for cross country. I used to have to be up at 5:30 in the morning for practice, back at 3:30, and we used to run car miles. So, and I'm not a little dude. I'm 6'5" and 6'5", 210. So everybody used to know me from basketball. Used to see me, they used to honk, hey, Ty. And it was a joke around town, really. But they at every race, they used to say, beat one more person than you did the last time. And I created, my teammates on the cross country team knew what I was doing, so it was a respect thing because they knew, like, think about it. They really took pride in what they did, and I respected that. And they knew while I was doing it, so they respected me. So we had a bond, and just like with any team, I traveled with them, and we stayed in the hotel together, and we were friends too. So it actually was a good thing because I got to see a whole different walk of life and see how they prepared to go run and do what they did. And it actually was a blessing because it got me in the best shape of my life. And when I went to play pro ball, I could run for days because I knew how to control my breathing. And I tell this story to the children now because you got to do what you can before you do what you want. And for me, by me running cross country, when I graduated in May of '02, I had a 0 balance. I didn't owe no student loans. I didn't owe anything. And hey, now that I look at it, I'm so glad that I did that because I know people that are still paying student loans to this day. And for me, hey, like I said, I was on I have no choice point. So sometimes you got to do things that you don't want to do and make yourself uncomfortable because then at that age, I was 21, 22, so I wasn't 18. I was grown. And so I used to have to be up. You know, we would party and stuff like that. And guess what? I still had to be up at 5:30 and over on that track ready to run. I'm so glad that I did it now. I look back now and laugh, but that was a changing point in my life.
So from getting expelled in high school to JUCO basketball to basketball at UNA, cross country as well to get your degree, 2 degrees when you walked across that stage, how special was that moment?
And that was one of the most special moments in my life. Like, you got to think, man, I'm the first person in my family, I'm the first person in my neighborhood to graduate from college. So I know in 2020 or in 2002, that sounds crazy, but for me, that's major. Took one of my friends who's the same age as me, when I came out of high school, went to prison, went to federal prison. He found me on Facebook, basically told me, man, I'm living through you. I'm like, what you mean? He was like, man, just watching you doing everything that you've been able to do, let me know that I could have did the same thing. Like, even though we the same age, you my role model. That broke me down, you know? Like, you don't think of it like that. You just live your life. Like, for me, the lady at my church, she had me write my goals down. I still got them, and I still show the kids. Like, what you're seeing happen, this was written. This didn't just fall out the sky. This was written on what I wanted to do with my life. And those goals were my roadmap to success. And when I saw better, I wanted better. The more I saw, the more that I wanted. Even now at 41, I'm still not, I feel greedy sometimes because the Lord has blessed me with so much. And I still want more. Like, I still want to be something so much that is unimaginable. My mom calls me every morning, pray for me. Mom, she cries all the time, and she just is like, son, I was happy when you graduated high school. He was like, now you just keep doing stuff. You keep getting I got so many awards that it feels awkward because I don't like to, like the stuff that I don't do it for that. I do it because that's what God puts on my heart. And then at my house, people are like, man, I know you got awards just all over the place. Man, my wife has those things in the basement collecting. So it's like, because I don't like to spew all, I know it's an accomplishment, but I don't like to, I'm humble. I'm a humble dude. I don't like all that. Like, I like you see, that's my family and friends. I like everybody else to shine with me, man. I don't like just me. I don't like all that.
So you graduate and basketball's still not done. What was the professional opportunities that you had?
So before I graduated from UNA, I had my friend Rod Ramsey. He actually was a local, went to Athens State. He had an agent, and he and I used to play. We used to drive up to Huntsville in the summer. He used to be throwing me lobs and stuff, dunking all of them. So he had an agent. His agent basically wanted me to sign with him in December, but I told him I wasn't leaving until I graduated. And so once I graduated, he had me an opportunity in Colombia, South America. And when he told me where I was going, I was like, I'm not going there. But once my oldest brother, Darnell, he's closest to Davis. I got two brothers and a sister. But my brother, he was like, dude, you're going to be here playing ball anyway. You might as well go get that experience and see how you like it. So, and right after I graduated from North Alabama, I went to Colombia, South America, and played in South America off and on for 2 years, 2.5 years. I also did the AND1 tour. I also played in the WBA World Basketball Association. And so those experiences, now that I'm older, like, are priceless. But at the time, you always think, oh, I'm going to get something better. I'm going to get something better. The business aspect of professional basketball or low-budget professional basketball turned me off. And like I said, I was the only one in my family that went to college. So my mom was like, the money that I would make, the time that I would come back, I would be living off. And my mom was like, son, unfortunately, you might have to hang that basketball stuff up and get a job. So right before I went to my first job in May of 2002, I went to a job fair in downtown St. Louis for Atlanta Police. I used to read the St. Louis Post-Dispatch newspaper looking at jobs, and they had a job fair for Atlanta Police Department. And I went to that, and my recruiter was like, whenever you're done playing ball, it's a job waiting on you. So what I would do, whenever I had a tryout, I would make it in Atlanta, and I would take care of everything I needed for Atlanta Police. And then I would just keep putting my application on hold. So when I finally decided that I was done in 2004, they were waiting on me. And I got on Atlanta Police Department in September 7, 2004. And what I didn't know is they had a travel police basketball team. So I sort of was still playing ball. They came in, once my recruiter told everybody I played pro ball, they actually radioed to the car while I was in field training, like, hey, we got a game. And they literally pulled me out of service, and I walked into a gym and played basketball. And that pretty much helped my police career, because then from that point, I met all these different other guys that played ball, and then we traveled. And then I ended up linking up with another team that we played. I gave them 40 points, and then they signed me to get on their team. And then that became my travel team across the country. So I've been traveling across the country playing ball the entire time I've been in college.
So let's jump into your law enforcement career. Atlanta Police Patrol Officer, criminal investigator, and a certified gang expert. Tell us about some of those experiences in various roles.
So I was on patrol for 6.5 years. I worked in the old 4th Ward area of Atlanta. And from that, I became a detective. When I became a detective, I was a detective for 10 years. I worked general investigations for about a year and a half, and then I became a gang detective. And once I became a gang detective, I wanted to go to homicide. And somebody, like once again, somebody that knew better than me that I was fluent in gang culture from where I was from. And they put me in our gang unit, and my career began to blossom. Myself and my partner, we were the investigators of the year in 2015. I became certified as a gang expert. I've testified in probably 50 or so gang trials, cases. I've been on the stand for more than 15 hours before. But what people didn't know was on the side, I was mentoring the entire time I've been a cop. And I started with this program called Project Grad. One of my buddies worked in the school and he used to bring me in and I used to talk to the kids, go change into my uniform, and it would shock them because they thought I was a basketball player. And then from that, I started getting pulled in balling for peace, bullying isn't hot, real talk with the law, different things like that. And so over the course of time, I basically was doing two roles. By day, I was a criminal investigator, solving cases, everything from murder down to mentoring. That's what I was saying about my sociology degree. It kind of helped me with my mentoring aspect and just trying to give back and trying to show not only kids, but African-American kids that you can go pro in stuff other than just basketball and sports. You can be professional in life. And for myself, I thought like everybody else, I thought I was going to the NBA, but I've accomplished far more as a cop than I did in sports. And so Atlanta Police was great. They allowed me to pretty much blossom into who I am. A lot of the stuff that I did, I didn't even really ask for permission to do. I just would do what God put on my heart. One of the biggest problems in law enforcement is that say that's the way that we've always done it. And unfortunately, it hasn't always been a good thing. So for myself, I'm like, I want to be the change that I want to see. So start doing things to change it for the better from my standpoint. Once I started doing that, other people started jumping on board with me, which led to me creating Clippers and Cops. Clippers and Cops was basically, I created it in 2018 to basically bridge the gap between law enforcement and the community, to try to create empathy between the two. For myself, I'm black first. I was born black, I'm gonna die black, but I'm also blue. I've been a cop for almost half of my life. And so I have a different perspective on things. I'm able to provide insight to the people in which I come in contact with to help them understand both sides. The whole thing is we don't want to live in a world where there's no police. We don't want to live in a world of purge. So we have to learn how to interact. But on the flip side, as an African-American person that grew up in a crime-infested neighborhood, police have to be able to hear the heartbeat of that community and to know the fabric of that community and be able to interact with the people in which they serve, even though they may come from a different walk of life. And until we get that understanding, we're going to continue to have the problems which we have in this world. Empathy is a word that I've learned over the years and I've preached it. You have to be able to empathize with something that you know nothing about, that you may never experience yourself, or be able to understand that just because I haven't experienced it's real. So when they talk about police brutality, it's real. When they talk about discrimination, it's real. You've never been followed and pulled over for no reason, and profiled or put on a hot car or put on the ground and treated like a criminal. You don't know that that truly exists. And so it's one of those things where we as people have to hear other people's stories to get a better understanding for it. And I sit in the middle because I'm able to help people, especially white people, understand, not be demonized for not knowing, but helping them understand. And the same thing with black people. Some black people say, how can you be a cop? Well, you need me as a cop so I can help you understand how to deal with the cops. So I play a unique role, and I'm proud to be able to play that role and navigate that from where I sit at the table and help bring people together.
I want to talk about Clippers and Cops. You touched on it. It's taken off. You've got a lot of national pub with it. It's a great program. What was the inspiration for it? Where did it come from?
Clippers and Cops came from countless officer-involved shootings. And what happened is my social media, I'm on Facebook, and my social media blows up every time because a lot of my friends, I got friends that I grew up with are gang members, been in prison, and then I have professional friends that are CEOs of companies. And so my page became ground zero for the debate. And so I tried to figure out a way to cultivate it. My cousin, Christy Allen, she's a sergeant with St. Louis Police Department. She and I began talking about it. She was like, do it. And so I was like, I started thinking of characters. And so I thought about my friends that are cops that I know are good cops, do what they're supposed to do, just like most of us, including myself. So I started asking them, like, hey, would you be interested? Like, yeah. So then I reached out to my buddy who has a barbershop in Atlanta that's a block away from the Martin Luther King Center. And it has an historical feel. So I reached out to him, and he basically was like, yeah, you can. I was like, can we use the shop? And he was like, yeah, let's do it. So then I reached out to some of the guys that I've dealt with working gangs. And I was like, hey, would you be interested in sitting in on this conversation? And they was like, yeah, let's do it. So my buddy Joel Craig is a film, he does camera work for A&D, and actually was one of the film guys for First 48 when they were in Atlanta. Had him come in and record it. And so we did the first one, and we uploaded the video, and we got so much positive feedback that we knew that we were on to something. So we started doing it once a month, every third Thursday. Well, after the first one, I got an email from a mom who wanted to bring her black son. So I was like, man, we can't leave, because at first we were only going to do it with men. I was like, well, we can't leave her out. Her son needs to hear the conversation as well. So we opened it up to the public. My biggest fear was we have people that just want to argue and we get nothing accomplished. So that, after a while, that went out the window because we started doing it and we started getting comfortable. We also implemented the shoot, don't shoot simulator, where the training that we go through as officers, a former officer has a business where he has the simulator so that you as a people can go through and see how quick an encounter can engage and whether you have to shoot and don't shoot. It's almost like laser tag, but it feels real. And that was able to let people see that as an officer, we got a split-second decision to make. You're not going to always make the right decision. And so from that, we've been doing it every month since. And it spread, and then CNN ran a story which basically took us all over the world. I got a call from Canada asking us to come teach diversity and things of that. And I'm like, I didn't know I would touch that many people. And from that, I've been featured and called about police and citizen engagement like I'm an expert on it. But I guess I am. I didn't realize I was. And so it's been humbling to see that I can be part of the change and things like that. So I'm excited about the program. We are definitely trying to, my goal for Clippers and Cops is for it to be in every city in America, where every third Thursday in America, in every city, they're sitting down having these conversations. With everything that's going on, with the unrest that's going on in America right now, it's obvious that it's needed. And we pretty much was before our time, because we didn't start doing this because of George Floyd. We was doing this long before this happened, knowing that, trying to prevent it from happening. So I think that in order for us to move forward, we have to have a healing, and we have to be able to hear people out, which every officer involved shooting or incident is like ripping a Band-Aid off a wound that is never healed. And the reason being is because race relations in our country, we know about it, we know that there's problems, but we kind of sweep it to the side like, well, we're doing all right now. And it's something that we need to talk about as people in order to move forward. And I think that Clippers and Cops, I'm ready for it. I'm built for it, and I welcome the challenge. And so my goal is to try to get funding to take it national and do that.
If people want to get involved and help out with Clippers and Cops, how can they do that?
ClippersandCops.org, Facebook. That's our website. We're on all social platforms. Instagram, Facebook, I think Twitter. My buddy Tyrone Finney, he's an officer. He runs our page because I'm the leader of the band, but I don't do it by myself. It's me, Tyrone Finney, Dante Booker, Andre Lowe, or Curry. My buddy Michael Seiden is a news reporter in Atlanta. Reese Sweeney is a radio personality, and then Lieutenant Mike Carter. So that makes up the team. We're a team of people that make it all come together. But if they want, we also have a PayPal business account where if they want to donate to help or put us with corporate sponsorships of Coca-Cola, I see in the back, we definitely need y'all to, if they pay for our travel, for me playing basketball in all these different cities, I got contacts, law enforcement contacts, where we're trying to train the trainer and show other departments what we're doing to try to help change the world.
Unbelievable community work that you have done. A couple more things for you. You retired earlier this summer from Atlanta. So tell us where life has taken you now.
Well, in June, when the George Floyd unrest occurred, my high school basketball coach reached out to me to check on me. And checked on me. We talked. He checks on me all the time when we talk or whatever. And he basically was like, you know, I'm still trying to get you back to come coach. And I'm like, coach, I don't know about that, whatever. And I was like, you can't afford it. Well, what if we find a way to? And I'm like, I'm open for discussion. I really wasn't. I've been a cop for 16 years. I wasn't looking for a new job. I pretty much riding out my time. And, from that, he introduced me to the person, my boss, Terry Harris. And he and I hit it off immediately. We talked for almost 2 hours. And he asked me something that I had never been asked before. That was, what do I want? I was like, oh my. I felt like a school-age girl. And I said, let me talk to my real boss, my wife, and see how she feels about it. And my wife, she played at Lincoln University in Jefferson City, Missouri. That's where we met. And I asked her, how do you feel about moving back to St. Louis? Like, other than time, what else do we have here? She was like, I've been wanting you to leave the cop because it's not safe and we want more for you. We don't want you to get hurt or something like that. And so I started reevaluating things and thinking about what do I want. And I talked back to Terry, and Terry was like, let me make a call. He made a call and called me back. Well, he first told me to send him my resume. I didn't even have a resume because I didn't need it. And so I do panels a lot. So I had a snippet of my background and I sent him that. That's when he asked what I know. And once I called him, he called me back in 5 minutes and was like, done deal, now what you gonna do? So I was like, oh wow. So I'm a lead detective back in Atlanta. So I had just given a presentation with 20 shootings and 7 homicides to my command staff, my chief. And so my chief, I couldn't tell him right then and there that I was leaving. And so a judge friend of mine, Judge Craig Swall, had called me to check on me. And I told him I was leaving. He was pissed. So he reached out to news reporter Mark Winnie, and Mark Winnie ran the story. And when the story broke, I got calls from all over the country about employment. And I'm like, no, I'm not. I'm taking this job with Rockwood School District. From that, people basically just been offering me. I didn't even know I had a want, and the reason being is because I never put it out there that I was looking, because I wasn't. I was comfortable with what I was. So basically, I retired from Atlanta Police August 10th. I was about a couple of weeks from 16 years. Literally sold my house in Atlanta and moved to St. Louis back home. And we just closed on our house here, and the rest is history. I'm back where it all began. I'm in my office. This is my office. I'm happy to be back. It's a breath of fresh air, a change of pace. Probably put some more years on my life with less stress. And I deal with school safety, basically making sure that I'm over 32 schools and 15 resource officers, and basically making sure our school and our kids are safe, and trying to basically implement different plans or different measures to move forward and keep Rockwood School District above the rest and the head of the game when it comes to school safety. As a police officer, I look at things a little different. So I think my knowledge and my background will help push us forward. So I'm excited.
All of your life experiences, all the great community service outreach you've done, how bittersweet is it seeing all of this bringing you back home?
Man, it's when I told my mom I was coming back home, man, my mom broke down and crying. She made me break down crying because it's my redemption story. On my first day, I told my boss, Dr. Miles, he's our superintendent, the same office that I sat in, because I had only met him over Zoom. When I got a chance to meet him, I explained to him, I kept smiling. He's like, why you keep smiling? I'm like, because in March of 1997, it's the same office where I was getting expelled. And for me to be back here in this, welcome back with open arms, this ain't a redemption story. I don't know who is and what is. And it also goes to show you with crime and punishment, there's got to be a level of rehabilitation. As a kid, if a kid makes a mistake, we have to have some level of rehabilitation to help rehabilitate them to be better adults and be better people in our world. And I'm a walking billboard for that. I'm not the same person I was when I was 18 years old. And thank God that I learned accountability for my own actions and get myself together. And now I'm able to tell my stories to help these kids understand that just because you see me shining now don't mean that I didn't go through a grind. I got trials and tribulations just like everybody else. And hopefully we can help shape some lives and help these kids be better adults and better people for our world to come. And hopefully I can pass the torch to one of them to carry it on. Who knows, it might be the next police, basketball, whatever. My hands touch a lot of things along the way. So I'm happy to tell my story, and I'm proud that God kept me on this earth and blessed me where I didn't go too far off the path and be able to get back to home. Like, it's nothing like home, man. I went to lunch with my mom for the first time as an adult, like in my professional career. My best friend, we've been best friends since the 8th grade. He stays 10 minutes from me and be able to watch his kids play ball and be able to have dinner with him, little stuff like that. You can't put a price tag on. So being able to see people that I went to high school with as adults in different roles and them being able to see me is priceless. I'm happy to be back home, and I'm happy to be here.
I've got two things left for you.
Go ahead.
First off, University of North Alabama Alumni of the Year. Now, you mentioned you come back all the time for homecoming, a former student athlete. Now to be recognized as the university, just what was it like? What was the reaction when you were given the award?
Well, I haven't gotten the award yet because of COVID, of course. Homecoming was supposed to be at the end of October, but my friend Celia Southward, she graduated with me. Me and her been friends since college. I gave her away at her wedding. Like, she knows more about me than I know about myself. And she put in for the award, and I didn't know it last year, and I didn't get it. And so she was like, oh, you're getting it this year. I'm like, what do you mean? So she put me in for 3 awards. And technically, I applied. I really could have been in either one of the categories. But I was voted the Alumni of the Year, which is humbling because for myself, I never, like I said before, I do what I do not for accolades. To be recognized by my university now, 18 years later, it's exciting, it's humbling, and I'm proud to say that I went to North Alabama, and I'm proud to be recognized in that fashion because, once again, life is but a dream, and for me, my dream keeps coming true in different ways that I never even fathomed when I was at UNA or even after UNA. Everything that keeps happening is like, dang, wow, I didn't even know this was possible. So it's a humbling feeling, and I'm proud to be the 2020 alumni of it.
And last thing I want to ask you, a message to current student athletes as they're looking around at everything going on in the world today, given your experiences, all the great things you've done and accomplished, what would you say to them?
I would say be the change you want to see. Each one of us is different, and everybody, God gives us different abilities. And you have to find your niche and apply that to the world to help serve all of us better. You never know what you may be able to invent or create that could help make the world better. Like I said before, one of the biggest myths is we've always done it that way. So we have to keep pushing the knob to do better things in this world. And as a young person, you guys have the energy and the strength to change the world. So don't settle for this is the way it is. No, keep pushing forward. Make sure you get your degree. And even if you don't, a lot of times you might not even go into that field, at least you have some type of accomplishment and to show the world that you can stick to something and finish it out. And so for myself, look at me. I'm living proof that you can do anything that you want in this world. And for myself, set your goals and stick to them. And as you accomplish goals, set more goals and keep going until you don't have breath in your body. Be the change for the world to make the world better. Love your neighbor, love somebody that doesn't look like you. Be willing to give your time, give whatever you can to help make this world better. I think when Jesus Christ comes back, he's not coming back as himself. I think that he comes back every day in our lives. And it's a test every day to see if we're living a Christian way. I don't know what everybody believes on, but that's mine. And that's why I feel like I try to give back. And I think I've left my mark, but I feel like I still got so much more to go. And I'm 41 years old. So never stop believing and never stop giving and never stop believing.
Tyrone Dennis, a true Lion legend. Thank you for everything you're doing. Thank you for taking the time to talk with us.
Thank you. Roar Lions. I even look, let me show y'all. UNA is in my office. I represent every day. I got my cups and stuff over there. So
And the cross-country photos on that wall too, right?
Say that again?
The cross-country photos on the wall too,
You
right?
bet your bottom dollar the cross-country photos is up there. I don't know if you can see it, but it's up there. I love showing that picture because that's probably one of my favorite pictures, man, because every time I sit and I look at that picture, man, I say to myself, if I can do that, I can do anything.
Roar Lions. Thank you, Tyrone.
Roar Lions. Thank you, Ben.